drummer boy.
This is the kind of music you get when you have a blues artist do Christmas. That's why we don't do Christmas Eve, one of the reasons anyway. Okay, so let me just put this down, since we're being informal today. Thank you for coming out on Christmas. You bet.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we don't interact with the audience, but I feel like you're all in my living room or something. So let's begin with, one day the minister of her church was shopping in the grocery store when she recognized a man who had visited the church on occasion. She went over to speak to the man, and being a pretty bold minister, she asked him why he didn't come to service more often. "Well, Pastor," said the man, "I really don't care much for your sermons, and besides, you always sing the same 2 songs." The minister was stunned. She could handle someone who didn't like her sermons, but she just couldn't understand how he was feeling about the music ministry, because she had such a great variety of music. And she said, "I don't understand. What 2 songs do we always sing?" And the man replied, "Silent Night and Joy to the World." So there in that means, I probably have to explain that to you. He only came on Christmas Eve. So thank you for being here this morning on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Yes, different configuration from last night, but it's all good because the perfect people are in the perfect place right here, right now. And where 2 or more are gathered, so there I am. So each one, thank you for being here this morning. And I've given great thought on how to wrap up this whole year, this Christmas Day, on this last Sunday in the last month of 2016, which could have been a fabulous year for you. I don't know. A lot of people are happy it's over. A lot of people enjoyed it. You know, everyone's different, but we're moving on because that's what time does. It moves on. So today we need to wrap up our monthly theme of the light inside. So for this month, we set the tone for the coming year. We really did it last night, where we really talked about the light and how we really need to be the light in the world, because this world needs a lot of light, and it can only begin within our own consciousness. We be the light, and we're going to be the light today, because this talk has 2 parts. It's different from my usual talks, because the second one, after I was informed, it's not a guided meditation, is a guided visualization. So we're going to be guided in that visualization of being the light that we truly are. So before we can really become it, we must be conscious of the fact, are we connected to the light or not? Are we connected to the light or not? So this is a true story of a young man named Manuelo, who came to visit America from a very, very small community in the hills in the Philippines. Everything in the U.S. was new and wonderful. Elevators, telephones, television sets, fire engines, electric lights. He had never seen any of these things before. When the time came for him to go back, he wanted to carry something from America to show to his hillside neighbors and family, to let them know the wonders of this great country. Most things were too big or too expensive for him to carry back. So he went to a hardware store and he bought a couple of light bulbs and sockets and switches and wires, and off he went home. And he got his friends together at this hillside village, and he was bursting to share them this happy secret. This was a big secret he had. He busily prepared for his surprise, and he went through all the rooms hanging these light bulbs and putting up the sockets and light switches and wires. And he wanted to know. When they wanted to know where they were, he merely said, "Just wait. Wait until dark." What are they? Wait until dark and you will see. And so when the sun went down, he went around pressing each switch, and nothing happened. And he was puzzled, and he was disappointed. Poor Manuelo. No one had told him about electricity. He did not know that the light bulbs were nothing but glass and wire unless they were plugged into electricity, a power line that traveled to a power plant. He wasn't aware of this concept of electricity. He wasn't aware of the source of light. So before we can be the light, it really is so important for us to know that there is a source of light that we came from, that we are, and that we return to. Are we plugged in consciously? Are we remembering to plug ourselves in? We've been talking about that during this month of December. Before we can be the light, we must know that the source of our light is this divine love, this God self, and claim it as our own. Illumination, living in the Spirit, speaks of spiritual awakening. Such a gift to give ourselves, to live our lives spiritually, waking up from our dream of duality, of separation. Because science of mind teaches that we are one. We are unified in the light of the divine. There is one source. If we don't say that enough, we can't not say it enough. I say it over and over again. One source, to myself, of course. One source of all light, of all power. Are we plugged in? Do we remember to plug in? Behind the light in every little bulb is a great dynamic current, a power that has always been there. Beneath every wave, there is a vast ocean, which has many waves. So it is with human beings. God made every person in his image and gave each one the qualities that are inherent in God. We all have within us the spark of divinity. It's for us to remember and to pay attention to the gifts that we hold inside of us. To be the light. To be the light. You must know that you are more than your stories. To really be the light, you must know that. That you're more than all the stories of your past, of your childhood, of all the things that ever happened to you. Those are things, those are circumstances, and they change. They are not who you are. They are really not who you are. You are an illumined light of the divine. And when we cast these bodies aside, we will again really be in that oneness. Because these physical forms kind of make us think that we're separate from each other, separate from life, separate from God. We're not. One energy source, one. There's only one electrical force, and there's only one power of divinity. So are we prisoners of our history, our family, our past stories? Do we limit ourselves with this? Because beneath all the stories, beneath all the diagnoses, we are expressions of the Most High. We are beings fully equipped with inner voices of strength and wisdom, grace and light. These aren't just words that we're bandying about. These are truths, spiritual truths. We all have the same divine beginnings. We all have access to the same universal laws that are impersonal. Jesus said, "You are the light of the world." It is interesting to note that he did not say, "You are the light of the world if you grew up in a loving, supported, two-parent family and had no sorrow in your life." He did not say, "You are light of the world if you were never violated or harmed, if you were never had any illness or grief, if you never made any mistakes or messed something up in your life." No, he simply said, "You are the light of the world," regardless of any circumstance, regardless of what the mind is playing. You are the light of the world. If we get nothing else from today, let's just bring that into our lives. You are the light. So let the light shine. Let it shine. Jesus went on to say, "Let your light so shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven." And heaven is within. Remember that. It's not a place up here in the sky or wherever we think it is. It's within. We live either a life that's filled with, as best we can, even in trying circumstances, as best we can, connecting to that source all of the time, remembering that. That's the heaven. And the hell is forgetting it and living a life of separation. God is here judging me. That's hell. To me, that's hell. So that's what we teach at New Thought Science of Mind. So here's another story. This is a story about how we truly are interconnected and what love and what kindness, small act of kindness, can change everything. A young boy was on a city bus crowded with Christmas shoppers a few days before Christmas. Kind of a day when the crowds of people waiting impatiently for slow-moving buses loaded down with all those packages, and it looks like many were beginning to wonder if all those countless friends and relatives were even worth all of these gifts they were lugging around. These people didn't have cars, obviously. I didn't drive till I was 34, so I can relate to this. Schlepping, just dragging all of these bags on buses. Okay? And it looked like many were beginning to wonder if those countless friends and relatives actually deserved these gifts. This was not the Christmas spirit for which they strived, or we strive. And they found themselves virtually shoved onto the steps of a jammed city bus. The idea of standing there packed like a sardine the whole way home was almost more than anyone could bear. Been there, yeah. Another bus person with me here? Yeah. Okay. If you're from the city, you know what I'm talking about. Everyone was in some kind of exhausted daze as people gradually got off. No one noticed that there was room to breathe again and that a seat or two had become available. No one, that is, except for the small boy, who couldn't have been more than 5 or 6, who tugged on a woman's sleeve and said, "Would you like a seat?" He quietly led her to the closest free seat that he could find, and then he set out to find another tired person. As soon as each rare new seat became available, he would quickly move through the crowd in search of another burdened woman who desperately needed to rest her feet. And the little boy's eyes dazzled, and so did his smile. They just dazzled. He felt so good as these weary women just rested in the seats and placed all their heavy bags on the floor. The little emissary of love immediately turned to help the next subject. The people on the streetcar, as usual, had been studiously avoiding each other's eyes. You know how that is. You ever been in an elevator? Right? So this is what was going on. And now they began exchanging sly glances and smiles. A businessman offered a person next to him a section of his newspaper. 3 people stopped to return a gift that had tumbled to the floor. And now people were speaking to one another. That little boy had tangibly changed something. Everyone relaxed into this subtle feeling of warmth and actually enjoyed the trip through the final stops along the path. No one noticed when the child got off. The passengers simply were floating. They floated off that streetcar, wishing that the driver a happy holiday, noticing the sparkling Christmas lights in a fresh new way, or maybe seeing them in an old way with the same open wonder they felt when they were 5 or 6. Remember that? When you were 5 or 6, a little child, and you're so excited for this magic of Christmas. It was magical. Is it still magical? It's changed, right? It's shifted. It has. It's shifted into, it's funny to hear you talk, but it's shifted into a place where we appreciate, I speak for myself, I appreciate the people in my life more than I appreciate all those gifts that I had to get all those years. Got to get those gifts. Got to go buy those gifts. You can't walk in the room because it's full of gifts. Doesn't it look beautiful? But meanwhile, there was such an emptiness inside. And that emptiness was, there was no God spirit. alive that I was aware of within. And so the greatest gift that I gave myself was this connection to a higher power that is an inner power at the same time. This connection of being with family or friends or anyone where I feel, or just being at peace with myself. If there's nowhere to go on Christmas, you always have yourself, that indwelling self. That's why it is so important to connect with that light. That's the power. That's the only satisfying relationship, fully satisfying, that you will ever have. Truly. The others all change and shift. You are the light. You have everything that you need to be the light in your life. So just be it. Okay, with that, that was my cue.
No?
So at this point,